on 365 Sports yesterday, they had Jason Scheer from 247 who covers Arizona. And I find some things are very, very interesting. He did, in a sense, say Arizona's hurting for money. It's because of the last 2 years. You know, they had a COVID year and a short amount of games. And then last year as well. I mean, and they're making their best basketball team left in the Pac-12, and yet if it's unequal revenue sharing, they would get the least amount parts of the pie because in terms of money, because Oregon and Washington, if they do unequal revenue sharing, want the most, then Stanford and Cal. So, and basically, he says the Pac-12 is wanting like an offer between around $34 million up to $46 million annually per team, if it is equal revenue sharing. And if the Pac-12 can't get that, then teams will fend for themselves. He basically said that they have to. It does. If then they decide, look, we're gonna wait on the Big 12 new TV offer with them. If it is like $2 million difference or $3 million, they're not going anywhere. But $5 million makes sense for them to leave, especially with the travel. That's what he said. $5 million or more, they would bolt for from the Pac-12 to the Big 12. And look, if you're those teams that are going to get unequal revenue sharing, that's making more than a Group of 5 team, if they are, then why would you stay in a conference that you are making less instead of going to the Big 12 and you make more with no unequal revenue sharing whatsoever? Why would you stay? There's no point. And the thing is, too, he also said teams might not want to sign long term because of Oregon and Washington could go somewhere else. That's another thing to keep an eye on. So, and Arizona's hurt. Like, if you're hurting for money if you're those Pac-12 schools that are hurting for money athletically, then you might need to consider going somewhere else. I mean, that's the truth. And I just saw a video that said the Big 12 is in trouble. They're not in trouble. The thing is, they're not as much trouble as they think. But the problem is, the Pac-12 is being indecisive right now. They're being indecisive. They really, really are. You can't control that. And we have to wait on the Big Ten money contract for the Big Ten to come out first. And they signed that deal, which should happen sometime within a week, I would think. A week from now, or a week from tomorrow even. We have to wait on that. Because if it doesn't include any more Pac-12 teams, then they will have to figure that out. Of course, we know like the original number is $24.5 million per Jason Scheer, and I know ESPN was lowballing on the offer. I know they were. But if it doesn't go up to like $34 million, then teams are going to really think about financially, they might need to go elsewhere. I mean, that's the truth. So I think the Pac-12 is a little more endangered than the Big 12 right now. Because of that alone. Because if the Big 10 is not done shopping, which it could be done, but who knows? But if the Pac-12 is not done shopping and take a few more Pac-12 teams, boom, Pac-12 is toast. I mean, it's burnt toast. Theoretically, figuratively speaking. That's just some interesting stuff, and it's on 365 Sports. The whole interview with Jason Scheer, which y'all need to listen to because it does provide some great insight on the Pac-12 and Arizona. And he does feel like Arizona could make that jump, but they would prefer somebody else, like a Utah, or he didn't mention Colorado. He doesn't think that Arizona State is linked as much as they used to be, but we'll just wait and see. So I just want to provide some interesting details about a guy that's covering Arizona on 247 on what he said. Some interesting little nuggets to know. And we're going to know more information on the Big Ten offer sooner rather than later. And no team wants to sign a contract that's not like that number, like I said, mid 30 million to mid 40 million. If they don't, and for a longer period of time or a long-term deal anyway, because of Washington and Oregon. And the thing is, even if it's short-term deal, I don't know if it's worth it because it's not a lot of money. And if teams are hurting for money, they would know what to do for their program. And it's not just for football. Most of the profit is football, but it's men's basketball as well. So don't get that excluded out. It needs to cover for every sport the university provides. If they would want every sport to still be alive financially, they need to get their act together and make a decision to help benefit your team or university. If you're one of those higher ups, you need to think about that, because then you might go to a group of, if you don't, you're going to be left behind in the Mountain West. It's an arbitrary conference to say, or a lesser conference like a West Coast conference. But I know the West Coast conference doesn't have football, but Stanford could go independent and be in the West Coast Conference. But I'm just saying that because it's the truth. Anyways, if you like this content, hit the like and subscribe button, and I'll see you guys later. Let's get into 400 subscribers and more by the end of this year.